This video is about formatting. Yes, formatting, the component of your grade devoted to making sure your title is in the right place and the volume number of a citation is italicized but the issue number is not. Yes, formatting can be tedious, but if one is to have a long-lasting success in using formatting properly and see your grade in the format criteria rise, it is most important that you understand the ideas behind formatting before going on to memorize the conventions of the formatting itself. That is why this video will not tell you how to format. There are plenty of resources out to do that, but rather emphasize the importance of and ideas behind formatting. Now, formatting describes how we set up everything from the page margins to pictures to the works cited or references list, and how we cite our sources within the text. Oh, good. Omniscient little blue bird. I thought you'd gotten lost. Okay, but do you ever wonder why there are so many different formatting guidelines and why these guidelines are so important to adhere to? MLA, Chicago, APA. It is important to note here that formatting guidelines are found in style guides. Formatting is part of style, but for our purposes in FYC, we have broken them up in the grading criteria. Like little clubs that each have their own way of doing things, formatting guidelines stem from a concern for each community of scholars to provide unity and comprehension amongst a large body of works. It is no coincidence that the use of formatting is largely determined by which field or subject of study one is writing in. Each formatting method comes with its own ways of communicating, almost like language, ways of thinking, ways of valuing. Let's get into more depth about this by briefly addressing 5 things every writer should know about formatting. Design. Formatting includes many design principles, and the differences in these design principles are important and meaningful. Design is about expectations, and designing your document in one way or another speaks to how the content will be interpreted. Take these front pages, for example. Can you guess which one is APA and which one is MLA based upon your experience? Now stop and think about why these different designs are in place. Remember that certain fields of study will use certain formats. For example, more scientific and social scientific fields like psychology or business use APA. When looking at the APA front page, you can see that the design resembles a scientific report, even a lab report, that brings to mind expectations of what will be contained within this document, mainly empirical proofs, quantitative, qualitative research. Then look at the MLA front page, not a title page, but rather just a few lines of information before the text begins in earnest. No abstract, no title on every page. Fields that use MLA format, like English composition, literature, humanities, philosophy, construct texts that are usually more personal and theoretical in nature, with less emphasis on quantitative research and research methods, and with little importance of headings and subheadings. For example, surely by these 2 covers, stark contrast, you can get a general gist of what the media will consist of inside. Design impacts expectations, and good design increases the readability of your paper. References. So regardless of which format, formatting is all about providing references for readers. Okay, so you have been told time and time again that any information you use that is not your own, and even sometimes if it is your own, needs to be cited in the works cited or reference page. And this is true. Adhering to format guidelines allows your reader to easily follow along the paper and understand where outside sources were found. You don't want readers to have to pull up the book you've cited and flip through all the pages and then the index just to find the passage. It is your responsibility as the writer to direct the readers to the appropriate passage. The onus is clearly placed on the writer. These rules of citation, of where to put page numbers, for example, is not something that writers are forced to do because their teacher tells them to. Rather, it is to direct a potential reader to the right source and save them time and energy, and to build credibility in your paper. You need to make it as easy as possible for the reader. By making sure that your sources are properly cited, both at the end of your paper and within your paper, you can avoid plagiarism. You can show your reader or teacher that you have thoroughly researched the topic and that your work is based on evidence. And you can also direct your readers to external information that you have referred to in your writing. And as such, they will need full details of the source to locate it. 3. Priorities. Each formatting style resembles what is valued by those who use it. For instance, take this example of an in-text citation. It is not a direct quote, but is still citing, because it is borrowing an idea from another source. Here you will see the last name of the author and the page number, the 2 most simple and fundamental pieces of information that the reader will need to reference that reading. No italics, no commas, it's about simplicity. Then check out this in-text citation in APA format. Lots more going on. The main difference here is that this includes the year. It also includes commas separating bits of information and a P period in front of the page number. It's important to notice these differences and apply them, but it's also important to note that APA format includes the year because in the fields that use APA format, the date that that material was published is of much more importance. Citing a psychological study from 1954 is much different than citing one from 2004. Not to say that years don't matter in fields that use MLA, but the dates are much more important in these contexts. As such, it is important that you know that formatting differences stem from what certain fields and associations value and what's important to communicate immediately to the reader. 4. These formats are changeable. These formatting styles are not set in stone, but rather are dynamic. The latest edition of the style guides are improvements and adjustments upon the previous editions, although the covers might not indicate change. For example, when you see how to cite a book in your Works Cited page in the 3rd edition of MLA, you will see that underlining was the method of choice to emphasize the title. Now in the 7th edition, the book title is italicized, mostly because it is more readable than underlining, which can be difficult to read at times. More recently, over the last decade or so, formatting guides have been given the task of integrating new media sources into their conventions. This has led MLA to add the qualifier print or web at the end of each source, as you'll see here, in case a book is in e-text. Now in terms of the URLs from which sources have taken, there are some disagreement. For example, MLA no longer requires the use of URLs in MLA citations. Because web addresses are not static, and because documents sometimes appear in multiple places on the web, MLA has explained that most readers can find e-sources via title or author searches in internet search engines. Now, in APA, the link remains, even though sometimes your link can look really ugly and screw up your formatting entirely. Try and make the link as short as possible. You can see your style guides for that. As you can see, the kinks for the formatting are still being worked out to accommodate new media. These conventions change over time as the way we write and research changes. It's important to stay up to date and make sure you have the right edition of the style guides. 5. Community. Formatting is about community. Format use is not based upon your personal choice or preference or which one you think is better, but rather upon the community for which you are writing. For example, think about what MLA and APA stand for. Birdie, do you know? Yep, good. And the key word in these acrostic acronyms? Nope, no, not modern. No, not American either. Come on, Birdie. Yes, association. These formatting conventions provide cohesion for how a collective of people communicate. Universities and research sites all over the country and the world expect knowledge and writing to be communicated in a certain way, using certain conventions that allow for easier comprehension and that eschews their values. As such, when you are using a format, you should envision yourself as entering into a conversation, as being the new person in a group of people who communicate in a given way. You need to respect those conventions, because not abiding by these conventions will lead to a lack of credibility on your part. Ultimately, formatting conventions can be tedious, mainly because they are, but they are very important for scholarly work for a variety of reasons, as we have seen. They should be taken very seriously and given close attention to. Your teachers are not out to get you. These conventions are very important. Good writers pay attention to detail, and formatting, whether it be MLA, APA, Chicago, Turabian, or Harvard, is no exception.